I am Stan Goldstein with Kates-Boylston Publications. As part of our KB On the Road Live series, I'm glad to be joined by Steve Shaffer, the President, CEO, and Board Chair of Homesteaders Life Company. Steve, thank you so much for joining us today.
Dan, thanks for having me. Looking forward to our conversation.
Yes. All right, Homesteaders recently released their annual report from 2020, which was heavily focused on the pandemic response. How did COVID-19 impact homesteaders?
Like most businesses, it impacted us pretty dramatically early on. We certainly had to pivot like everyone else and first work on making sure that our team was doing all the good work that they do every day to support our funeral home and agency partners. And we did that pretty amazing. And within the span of a few days, we were able to transition most of our home office folks, about 90% of our home office folks, to working remotely. And thankfully, we had made a lot of investments in technology so we could make that transition very smoothly and never miss a beat. You know, our business is so important because we're paying claims for people who have just experienced a death. And as death started to climb, we knew it was very important that we were still here to deliver on that promise of paying claims timely and making sure that the funeral homes got the cash flow they needed to conduct their business. So that was one big impact for us. The other impact was really on the sales and on the claim side, given the nature of the pandemic and particularly the way communities shut down. Sales were impacted pretty dramatically in the early days because our agents, who typically meet one-on-one with families to plan and fund their arrangements, were not able to do so. So we were able to, again, because of some of the investments we had made in technology and eFuneral and other tools, we were able to pivot pretty quickly and come to the market with technology tools to enable remote selling very quickly so that our agents could start meeting again with families. And so that helped us a lot kind of recover quickly after that first dip as communities shut down. And then the other area was claims, as I said, because of the impact of COVID deaths. Claims were up last year, about 15%, which equates to about $60 million. So we were watching that pretty closely right from the start and making sure we were managing very carefully to be able to handle that additional cash flow, the additional cash flow needs. And again, thankfully, the company has been managed very, very conservatively over many, many years. 115 years we've been in business. And so we were in a great shape to basically be able to navigate this 1 in 100-year pandemic that we experienced without really too much pain or stress. I say that, my team would probably say something differently, but they navigated it well. And I think most importantly as a company, what was so impressive to me, and I take so much pride in, is the way that our team and our funeral home partners and our agency partners all stepped forward to take care of families, whether they were pre-planning or whether they were experiencing a death. It's just impressive to me to see how the profession has responded to this COVID pandemic.
Right. And following up on that, the funeral profession faced unprecedented disruption over the last year. What lessons do you think we've learned from that, and what new business practices will carry forward after the pandemic, or even right now as we're still in it a bit?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we learned as a profession as a whole is that we are more nimble than we thought we were. Historically, people have always said the funeral profession changes slowly, and there's probably some truth to that. But when hit with and faced with a pandemic like this and the need to serve families in a different way, I think the profession, particularly the frontline funeral home professionals, really responded well, got creative, found ways to meet the family's needs in the best way they possibly could, and take care of a lot more families. So that was, again, extremely impressive to me, who's been around the funeral service for so many years, to see how in very short order the profession pivoted to continue to help families. I think that will give us confidence going forward that we can tackle more challenges and more change in our business. I think it has definitely opened people's minds to finding new ways to connect with consumers through digital tools that we probably were not as open to in the past. And quite frankly, consumers weren't that open to it either. So things like live streaming and Zoom meetings and connecting digitally to complete contracts and engage with your funeral professionals to make sure all the details are in order, all became a necessity. And I think those experiences will carry forward going forward. I do think it also, the pandemic will also create an awareness within the consumer base with our families about mortality and the need to plan and prepare in advance. And I think in a way bring back an orientation to the value of ceremony. Since so many people were unable to have a full ceremony, I think there will be a strong felt need within the families we serve to have ceremony, have a commemoration and celebrate the life of their loved one in a setting where friends can join once that's readily available across the country. So I think in the end, in many ways, even though it was a difficult year, it will provide some positive things for the funeral profession. And it's up to us to make sure that we engage with consumers and take advantage of this time when they're probably going to be more aware of their mortality and feel a need to get together and celebrate and commemorate.
Right, absolutely. And Homesteaders has formed a lot of strategic partnerships in the last few years, most notably with eFuneral and Domani. How have those relationships impacted your business?
So, I'll start with the reason why we have begun to add some of these partnerships into our value offering. We believe that Homesteaders, as a committed insurance carrier that only does pre-planned funerals, only funds pre-planned funerals, that is part of our obligation to help the profession look forward and figure out new ways to engage with consumers, new ways to use technology that's good for the funeral profession and good for families. And so we had invested in eFuneral, many years ago, and when the pandemic hit, we were very glad that we had, right? So we didn't think that change was going to happen that quickly, but with the pandemic, it just demonstrated why we as a profession need to become more flexible and proficient in using technology. And so we are looking for ways to enhance the experience for consumers around pre-need and even around at-need by using technology tools and partnering with people who bring really valuable offerings to the market so that they can scale and be successful and be there to help amplify the funeral home brand and help funeral home owners and funeral professionals connect with consumers in the digital space. Because if we aren't there making that happen together as a profession, someone else is likely to come in and take that space. And so our goal is to basically provide a platform where funeral professionals can own that space before anybody else decides to come looking at ways to, disrupt our business by engaging consumers in the digital marketplace.
Right. And following up on that, last fall you launched Homesteaders Solutions, which integrates the Domani and eFuneral offerings with Homesteaders funeral funding. What has been the response to that in the market?
So we've had a great response. And again, it comes back to Homesteaders' commitment is to provide best-in-class tools across a wide spectrum of different functionalities, eFuneral, Domani, some other things that are going to be launched later this year that will help connect all of these pieces so that it's easy for the funeral homeowner, it's easy for the family, it's easy for the funeral professionals to take advantage of those tools and engage with their consumers and give the consumer a better experience. And we're already seeing, a great response so far, and more to come. We're committed. Again, since we only do one thing, we only fund funerals in advance for the benefit of our funeral home partners and their families. We can put our resources as a bigger company into developing those kind of tools and bringing them to market, and do it in a way that's scalable so that all the independent funeral homeowners and our partners can take advantage of those and have a better experience for families and consumers along the way. So we're excited about it. We're just getting started, but great response so far. And again, timing is important too. In the face of the pandemic, there were a lot of people looking for new tools and new ways to engage with consumers. So we've had a great response so far, and we're just getting started.
Okay, great. And how may someone get in contact with Homesteaders?
Yeah, I think the best way is either go to our website or contact our VP of Sales, Lyndon Peterson, at 515-440-7746, or one of our field reps. We have a pretty broad base of support out in the field in each state across the country. So you might be familiar with those folks. Get in touch with them or call us here at the home office.
Okay, great, Steve. Thank you very much. Very informative interview. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too. Thanks. Bye-bye.